The NBA may have just made a ginormous mistake by letting the Milwaukee Bucks trade for Damian Lillard. And if you haven't heard, yes, Damian Lillard got traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. And if you haven't heard, you should probably get out of under your rock because it has been everywhere. And that is basically the only thing people have been talking about lately, maybe outside of the Jrue Holiday trade that also just went down. And overall, I think this trade is going to make them even better than they already even were, even just before this trade ever happened, because they were already, like I said, one of the best teams, a finals contending team every single year, even before they added Dame. Now you add one of the best point guards in the entire NBA, and they're going to get even better. And yes, I know there's some concerns on the Jrue Holiday side, what you lost in Jrue Holiday, but I think what you gained in Dame is going to be much better. And this is coming from a Pelicans fan who loves Jrue Holiday, and I'm going to be getting to all that in this video. So without further ado, without rambling on too much, let's get right into the rest of this video. And the first thing I really want to dive into is the fact that they probably formed the best big three in the entire NBA, as they have Giannis, who is a two-time MVP. He's always going to be in the MVP conversation every single year. He's at minimum a top 5 player every single season, and he is just one of the most unguardable, unstoppable players to ever grace an NBA floor. And Giannis, like I said, is just one of the premier players, and he is up there with the likes of like Jokic in them as well. And then you have Damian Lillard, who is a top 3 point guard, and he is one of the best, if not the best, offensive player on the floor any given night. And he is more than capable of being the best player in general on the floor any given night as well, especially if he's having a good game. And then their third option is Chris Middleton, who is a multiple-time all-star, who is a great scorer and get you 20 points anytime you need him to get you them. And the reason this is so impressive of a move is because not only did they form this elite big three and get better at the top end of their roster, they really almost lost nothing in terms of the middle and back end of their roster either, and it's going to remain one of the best well-built rosters in the entire NBA, as you have, like I said, the new and improved big three in my opinion. But then you only lost Grayson Allen outside of your big three, and Grayson Allen, yes, he was a good role player, but he's not a finals winning role player changing type guy. And you put into the fact that they got Malik Beasley in the offseason, they re-signed Pat Connaughton, they still have Brook Lopez, they signed Robin Lopez. Their bench is still very deep, and their players, they have players that can replace them very easily as well. And I just think overall, for what they lost, they got a lot better compared to what they lost. And I think this is a much better Bucks team than we saw even last year, which, like I said earlier, is actually saying a lot due to how good this team is. So for them to be able to improve their star level talent while also debatably improving their role players when they signed Malik Beasley this offseason as well is very, very impressive. On top of that, they just signed Cameron Payne as well right after the Damian Lillard trade. So that depth that they lost in Grayson Allen, they got it right back in Cameron Payne, who has shown that he can be in a very, very high-level role player in high-pressure playoff situations in the past with the Phoenix Suns. So hopefully he can continue that with the Bucks. And the Bucks really may have a better all-around roster, even from a depth standpoint, than they had before the Damian Lillard trade, which is insane to say when you trade it for a guy that the star caliber level like Damian is. And then something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that I really think is going to be important, especially for Damian Lillard as an individual player and for him to be productive and make this team as good as possible. Damian Lillard actually has something to play for. Let's be honest. For basically his entire time at Portland, he had a 0% chance of winning the NBA Finals. Yes, he made the conference finals once when they had CJ and Dame still on the roster, but that was the Kevin Durant Warriors years. They had no chance of coming out of the West without an injury to them. So, I mean, they basically never had a chance of even winning anything of significance when Damian Lillard was in Portland. But now for the first time in his career, he legitimately has players and a team around him where he can win an NBA Finals and maybe even win multiple of them if they do stick together and stay healthy. And I think Damian Lillard is going to step his game up to even a higher level than we've already seen him play now that he's playing with these superstar level players and he has to actually prove himself, because there's a lot less pressure when you're playing in Portland, putting up extremely big numbers and looking like a great player, because you know you're not playing for anything. There's not a lot of pressure. You're by far the best player. But now you're playing with Giannis, who's a better player than you, and Chris Middleton, who's a very good all-star level player. Now you have a lot of pressure on you to win at a high level and win rings, and that is exactly what someone like Damian Lillard kind of strives off of. As we've seen in high pressure situations, Damian Lillard has came through time and time again, and I think in the playoffs that is going to come up huge. And even to address some of the naysayers of this trade, because a lot of people are saying, yes, Damian Lillard is a great player, but losing Jrue Holiday's defense is going to be a huge blow to this team. And don't get me wrong, I'm one of the biggest Jrue Holiday fans you can find. He was on the Pelicans for so long, and I loved him as a player. But Jrue Holiday is nowhere near the offensive player Damian Lillard is, obviously. And yes, Damian Lillard is not a great defender or even a probably good defender. He's average at best. But Damian Lillard in the playoffs, when it's a close game, because you're so talented and all the teams are so good, when you're you're really barely better than a team and the talent is really close, you really need those star level players to come through on the offensive end, and that is exactly what someone like Damian Lillard is going to get. And even if it's not Damian Lillard directly scoring, I think he's going to be making the floor way more open and giving way more options for the defense to have to cover, making it easier on guys like Middleton and Giannis as well. And I don't think something like Jrue Holiday was going to matter, because if there's 2 seconds left in a game 7, you're down 1, you need a bucket, they are going to double or maybe even triple team Giannis and force anyone else to shoot that ball. And I would be feeling much more confident as a Bucks fan if that second option had to be Damian Lillard opposed to Jrue Holiday. Now, like I said, that's no diss to Jrue Holiday. It's just Damian Lillard is, in my opinion, a whole nother level offensively than Jrue Holiday has even close to being able to sniff at. Now, yes, they're going to lose defense, but this is still one of the best defensive teams in the league. Giannis is a beast on defense. Brook Lopez is a very, very solid defender. Chris Middleton isn't a horrible defender. Damian Lillard's probably a little below average. And then you have Malik Beasley, Robin Lopez, Pat Connaughton, who are all very solid defenders as well. And even Cameron Payne isn't a terrible defender. And all of them are going to be able to contribute and help on that side of the ball. So yes, they're probably going to take a little bit of a step back because Jrue Holiday is one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. But I think overall, especially when it matters, they got much, much better. And I think there's going to be a much, much needed improvement in these very close games in the playoffs that maybe the Bucks wouldn't have won otherwise, or at least would have struggled more because they would have had to go to either Jrue or Middleton instead of Giannis or Damian Lillard. And I think that's going to make a ginormous difference and could really pay dividends going into the playoffs next season. But unfortunately, guys, that's my first video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Bucks made a steal? Do you think it was a steal of a trade? I want your thoughts in the comment section below. And like point, hit the like button, and subscribe to me, and the absolute word to me. And I hope you have a blessed day. Could I have a blessed day? So you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.